to call our meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock and declare that we do have a board quorum present. If you will please stand for our invocation, which will be led by Mr. Chris Dunn, and then our pledges of allegiance, which will be led by the Rasco Middle School Student Council.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for tonight, Lord. We thank you for the freedom just to speak your name and your presence here. Father, thank you for this beautiful facility that we can gather in. And Father, we thank you for the folks that we get to honor tonight, past teachers, present educators, community leaders, industry partners. Father, we are truly blessed, and we recognize that. Father, we just ask that you'd be with the special needs that are on many of our hearts tonight. You know, folks are hurting and sick. Father, we just lift them up to you. Father, we just ask that tonight that the things that are said and done will be to glorify you. Forgive us, we pray. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good evening, Superintendent Massey, Board President Howard, board members, staff, and guests. It is now my pleasure to invite Rachel Arthur, Director of Child Nutrition, and Lisa Mitchell, Assistant Director and Registered Dietitian, to join Mr. Massey and the board up front. The ISD Child Nutrition has again received the state award for using local farm fresh produce. For the 7th consecutive year, the BISD Child Nutrition Department has accepted the challenge and earned the distinction of Best of the Bunch. Each year, the Texas Department of Agriculture presents districts with local products challenged to serve locally grown items to students. Best of the Bunch award winners meet the highest standards of the Farm Fresh Challenge and have showcased extraordinary commitment to Texas agriculture. This is an esteemed level of achievement that less than 10% of the districts across the state receive. Winners of this award successfully incorporated local ingredients from Texas in at least 3 of the following meal components: through milk, through protein, through fruits, vegetables, or grains. These winning schools also offered students an opportunity to learn about agriculture and local food. When students see items like Texas citrus, grains, or milk on their lunch trays, they gain valuable exposure to healthy foods and Texas agriculture. That is how the challenge provides lifelong lessons about healthy lifestyles and good nutrition. The challenge also serves up economic benefits for the entire community. Every dollar that the district's child nutrition team spent on local foods during October generated up to $2.16 for our local economy. BISD's child nutrition team, led by Ms. Arthur and Ms. Mitchell, worked tirelessly throughout the year to prepare healthy and appealing school meals, ensuring our students are ready to learn and achieve at their highest levels. In addition to serving healthy and balanced meals every day, the nutrition team makes offering agricultural education and serving Texas foods top priorities during the challenge. These efforts help strengthen local economies while recognizing the efforts of farmers and ranchers in the Lone Star State and especially in Brazoria County. Our Child Nutrition Department continues to set the standard in educational nutrition across the state. Congratulations, ladies. We are very proud of you and your team.
We don't get
For our next presentation, Mr. Aaron Ennis, the ISD's Resource Development Coordinator, is here to present our next recognition. Aaron?
You always know what to do, eh? Thank you, Carla. Community is defined as a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. A feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. The organization we recognize tonight, Southern Gulf Solutions, has a community statement that says, "We foster a culture of teamwork. We believe we can achieve more together as a team. With this team mindset, we are committed to serving and giving back to our community together." At Brazosport ISD, our mission is to graduate each student to be future ready. One of the ways this mission is made possible and a reality is because of strong community support from organizations like Southern Gulf Solutions. Brazosport ISD shares the same common goal of teamwork and the team mindset. Because of organizations like Southern Gulf Solutions, dedicated to our district and career and technical education, we can continue to develop, train, and educate tomorrow's future leaders. Tonight, we thank Southern Gulf Solutions for their amazing $25,000 investment towards BISD's CTE Major Giving campaign. Here tonight to accept this recognition is 2000 graduate from Brazoswood, President of Southern Gulf Solutions, Mr. James Dye.
Sure. Yeah. For sure.
With those shoes, yes, you do. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I now have the pleasure of recognizing Clute Intermediate Principal Tara Fulton. Tara, would you and Clute Band Director Daniel Fernandez please join Mr. Massey and the board at the front? Our second time to honor Ms. Fulton today. She was named today Secondary Principal of the Year. Every year, the Texas Music Education Association Distinguished Administrator Award Program recognizes school administrators who have been instrumental in preserving quality music education programs in their district and whose support has been critical to music programs across the state. This year, Clute Intermediate School Principal Tara Fulton was selected as a TMEA Distinguished Administrator. Nominated by Clute's Head Band Director Daniel Fernandez, TMEA honored Ms. Fulton with this award for her immense dedication to all Clute Intermediate students involved in music programs on the campus. Ms. Fulton continues to go above and beyond to ensure that the music programs at Clute Intermediate School remain an integral part of the campus culture and that they provide opportunities for all students to seek their passion and fulfill their goals. The objective of the TMEA organization is to promote excellence in music education, and through this recognition program, TMEA has the opportunity at the state level to thank individuals such as Principal Fulton for their dedication and support. I would just like to again say that Ms. Fulton made Secondary Principal of the Year today by the ISD, and we are very proud of her for many reasons. Congratulations, Tara.
Could be us. Cook's not even up here yet, he broke the camera.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This concludes tonight's awards and recognitions, but we are looking forward to after spring break, when we hope to share more examples of VISD students and staff setting the standard for educational excellence across the state and honoring our community and their support for our schools.
Next item that we have is a public hearing. We will ask Ms. Carla Christmas to conduct a public hearing to discuss the naming of the new Brazosport High School Auditorium. This is a public hearing, so audience participation is invited at the conclusion of the presentation. Carla.
Good evening again. In accordance with policy CW Local, it's my pleasure to conduct a public hearing this evening on the naming of the new Brazosport High School Auditorium. As you may remember, Mr. Brian Casey has come before the board 2 times seeking to name the auditorium after his mentor and best friend, longtime head band director at Brazosport, Mr. Jim Cook. Although the idea was a good one, others thought that there was something missing. Things that go better together, you know, like a whole note and a half note, treble clef, bass clef, a trumpet and a trombone. Some things are just meant to be together. In all seriousness, the duo of Jim Cook and Brian Casey has been an undeniable team of musical excellence. Since Mr. Casey's original request, the ISD has received requests to consider naming the new Brazosport High School Auditorium after longtime Brazosport band directors, Jim Cook and Brian Casey. Mr. Cook and Mr. Casey collectively served the band students harmoniously at Brazosport High School for more than 60 years together, winning numerous awards and accolades. After retirement, Jim Cook served as a trustee on the VISD board, while his close friend Brian Casey continued to lead the successful Buccaneer Band program. Now, to go back to the very beginning, this musical partnership did not just happen. No, Jim Cook, or Jimmy as he was known back in the day, started his career at Brazosport High School in 1977, where he was an assistant for 4 years. He worked under George Mitchell, who was like a second dad and great mentor. In 1981, Jim moved across the district to Brazosport High School and was an assistant for 3 years. In 1984, at the age of 29, Jim became the director of bands at Brazosport High School, one of the youngest to serve as the head director. Jim went on to hold that position for the next 26 years. And one of the first and best things that Jim said he did in his role was to invite a new Sam Houston State University graduate, Brian Casey, to join the Brazosport band staff. Thus began a lifelong musical collaboration and dear friendship as they worked side by side to run the Brazosport band program. The two brought in numerous talented educators to work with their students. Some stayed for a few years, and others are still working in the program. They also brought parents, creating one of the strongest support groups for students, musicians around the state, the Buck Band Booster Club. And this legacy continues on. From award-winning marching competitions to symphonic performances, Brazosport has led the way. The Brazosport band consistently earned UIL sweepstakes, TMA recognitions, and national acclaim for their multifaceted music programs. In 2010, Jim chose to retire and dedicate his time as a private citizen, as I said, to serving on the Board of Trustees and as the board's president. At this time, Brian Casey took over as the director of Brazosport Bands, a position he held until his retirement in 2017. Together, the Cook-Casey Buccaneer Bands have excelled at every level. They've earned 33 UIL Sweepstakes Awards, advanced to the Texas State Marching Contest 17 times. We're the only Texas band to be awarded a UIL State Medal to every performing member at a UIL Wind Ensemble contest. Their bands hold the region and the records for the number of solo and first division medals awarded to any band program. Their bands were consistently named Bands of America marching finalists, and they have had the most students placed in all region jazz bands throughout the years and earned numerous grand championships at jazz festivals around the state. The musical union of Jim Cook and Brian Casey has seen the Brazosport bands earn many, many awards and accolades. They have won awards together and separately, but through it all, it has always been Cook and Casey. Even in retirement, both men still play a large role in the success of the music programs in the Brazosport area. To honor the dedication and outstanding leadership of Brazosport Band Director Jim Cook and Brazosport Band Director Brian Casey, administration will recommend to the board the naming of the new Brazosport Auditorium, the Cook and Casey Auditorium. Since this is a public hearing, I'm happy to answer any questions from the board or from the audience. This is a recommendation to name the auditorium, and an action is later in the meeting. Questions?
Questions from the board?
Yeah, you left off the bass guitar. Sorry.
Well, I'll say I spent 30 years with one or both of them. A lot of Friday nights in the fall. One thing that always impressed me, these guys, their bands supported football all the time. But I would say the one thing that impressed me the most, if they had a marching contest in San Antonio on Saturday morning, they stayed and marched at the football game, got on the bus, and then drove to San Antonio after that. And that's above and beyond Call of Duty, and that's what these guys are about. So I spent 30 years in the fall with them at night, spent every day with them in the cafeteria at some point in time enjoying the great food that we have, fresh produce and stuff like that. And so I really don't think, I saw a picture down here at Cook with a megaphone, and I didn't really think that was him, because it didn't quite look like. I had to get out of the way. Scott told me to move out of the way so people could see it. But I don't think we could have any better representatives for our auditorium with Jim Cook and Brian Casey's name on it.
Any questions from the audience?
All right. We will close the public hearing. Thank you. We'll move on to our action item, the naming of the new Brazosport High School Auditorium.
Hello again. In accordance with the policy CW local, a public hearing was held just earlier this evening to consider the recommendation of naming the new Brazosport Auditorium the Cook and Casey Auditorium. To honor the dedication and outstanding leadership of retired Brazosport band directors Jim Cook and Brian Casey, administration recommends that the board name the new auditorium at Brazosport High School the Cook and Casey Auditorium.
All right. Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we name the new auditorium after Jim Cook and Brian Casey.
I'll second. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay? All right, that carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Incredible honor. Congratulations. Thanks for all you did. Appreciate it. Thanks for all of this. Appreciate it. Good job.
Thank you.
What an honor.
Well
You want to hold hands?
You guys hold each other? Oh, we get to hold ourselves. Thanks, guys.
And before we do all this, much gratitude to the wives. We're following around all of them.
wives?
Yes, yes, yes.
This is the real deal, now the wives are in it.
No backing up.
All right, Beth. You know your stuff. Jim, you're gonna have to lower it.
Stand up.
Yeah, we'll get yes, sir.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, wait, guys.
Got me interrupted more.
1, 2, 3.
I got like 10.
Martin, you guys come
You
on
want
up.
that, Martin?
Okay.
Daniel. Not done yet.
Thanks for
Get
doing
in,
it.
get in, get in. No, we don't want you.
Appreciate it.
Everybody shuffle that.
One, two, three.
You just call it the KC home, for sure.
Ollie B.
You might get a lot of Catholics hanging out there.
I can imagine.
Check party. He was our Van Booster president.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Very good.
Gotta laugh.
Keep it a smile out of it.
All right.
Y'all can stay for the rest of the meeting. He can't hear me. He did say no.
We will now ask Mr. Ron Redden to conduct a public hearing to discuss Brazosport ISD 2021 Texas Academic Performance Report. This is also a public hearing, so audience participation is invited at the conclusion of the presentation. Mr. Redden?
That's tough to follow. Just saying. Two incredible guys. What a blessed day. Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy AIB Legal and requirements under Texas Education Code Chapter 39.306, and in alignment with District Goals 1, 2, and 4, it's my pleasure this evening to conduct a hearing on the 2021 BISD Annual Performance Report. Texas Education Code Chapter 39.306 requires each public school district's Board of Trustees to publish an annual report that includes the Texas Academic Performance Report, also known as the TAPER, the PEAMS Financial Actual Report, the District Accreditation Status, Campus Performance Objectives with Progress, Special Education Determination Status, a School Safety Report, and information on the performance of Brazosport ISD graduates in their first year of college in a Texas Public 2 or 4-year institute of higher education. The district accreditation status for this year was not issued as a result of the suspension of the 2021 A through F accountability ratings due to the ongoing impacts of COVID-19. The special education determination status meets requirements. Included in your board packet tonight is the 2019-2020 PEAMS Financial Actual Report. This report is the final financial report for the 2019-20 school year and compares district revenues and expenditures to those of the state for the same year. The financial report is organized around the Public Education Information Management System, or PEIMS, reportable categories. This year, our district once again earned the state's highest financial rating of superior in the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, or FIRST. The remaining reports you see listed on this slide will be reviewed in detail with the beginning of the Texas Academic Performance Report. It looks like I'd already gone ahead with that slide. The Texas Academic Performance Report, also known as the TAPER, is divided into multiple sections. The 4 major sections of the TAPER are listed on this slide. The first section, Student Academic Achievement, includes performance data from 2021 compared to 2019, since the STAR test was not administered in the spring of 2020. Section 2 reports on a group of lagging indicators from the 2019-20 school year. year behind. Section 3 provides a closer look at what our student population and demographics were a year ago, while Section 4 provides teacher demographics and information from last year. The district received a not rated declared state of disaster rating in 2021 due to COVID-19. However, the STAR test was administered once again in 2021. And as you can see on this chart, BISD students outperformed the state average for STAR exams in all performance levels and on all tests in grades 3 through 6, 2 tests in grade 8, and on the Algebra 1 EOC. In fact, BISD students outperform the state altogether in math and science. The grade levels and subjects you see in the gray cells represent areas of intense academic focus this year. The next section of the taper features a group of lagging indicators from the 2019-20 school year. Reports in this section cover attendance and the many measures of post-secondary readiness. The following slide provides you with an at-a-glance look at the taper lagging indicators. The attendance rate for 2019-20 grew by 2.9%. The dropout rates for grades 7 through 8 maintained a very low percentage of 0.2%, while the dropout rate for grades 9 through 12 improved by dropping from 2.2% to 1.7%. The 4-year graduation or completion rate for 2020 was 91.3%, which was the second consecutive year of improvement in graduation. However, the percentage of graduates who graduated with an endorsement or on an advanced graduation program fell by 13.6%. The percentage of high school graduates who earned at least one college and career military readiness indicator also declined because students who were scheduled to take certification exams in April, May, and June of 2020 could not do so due to the COVID-19 closure, nor could students who were scheduled to take the SAT, ACT, or TSIA that spring could do it either. So the inability to take the college entrance exams also led to a drop in the percentage of college-ready graduates in 2020. The percentage of students who scored a 3 or above on one or more AP exam, however, increased by 6.4%. The College Board made it possible for students to take AP exams online in the summer of 2020. Finally, the percentage of students who enrolled at a Texas Institute of Higher Education in the fall after graduation decreased by 3.4%, from 55.2% to 51.8%. Our high schools continue to do an excellent job of ensuring that our graduating seniors are future ready. As you can see on this table, college and career military readiness performances in both 2019 and 2020 resulted in A ratings. As mentioned on the previous slide, students were not able to take certification exams in the spring of 2020, which resulted in fewer students attaining CCMR credit. Nevertheless, the efforts of campuses to support students earning CCMR credit prior to the COVID-19 closure still resulted in close to 60% of students at Brazosport High School and the district attaining credit, and more than 60% at Brazoswood High School. As a reminder, 60% or above is an A in the State Accountability System Student Achievement Indicator. The Brazos Success Academy is rated using a dropout recovery scaling tool system, and nearly 1/4 of the 2020 BSA graduates attained CCMR credit. The grades you see on this slide were obtained by running each campus and the district's raw attainment percentage through the A through F scaling tool. Had our high schools and the district received a rating in 2021, Brazoswood would have continued to earn an A in CCMR, while Brazosport BSA in the district would have received a B. Those are excellent scores given the impact of COVID-19. Sections 3 and 4 of the taper feature student and staff information. The graphics that follow will illustrate the items you see on this slide. We begin with enrollment. As you can see by this trend line, enrollment dropped last year with a slight rebound this year. And it's remained steady, I should add. That it's remained steady throughout the course of the school year. However, despite the lower enrollment, our student ethnic makeup remained relatively unchanged. Dad. As this graphic illustrates, our percentage of economically disadvantaged students continues to increase. A student can qualify as economically disadvantaged in one of two ways. The student can be directly certified by the U.S. government, and 1.5% of our students qualify under that designation. The student can qualify to receive free or reduced meals, and 70.1% of our students qualify under that designation. As you can see, since 2018, we've climbed quite a bit in that percentage. The percentage of students served as English learners rose by 0.9% over last year. That percentage represents an increase of 106 students from 1,373 last year to 1,479 this year. The percentage of students in grades 9 through 12 who participated in CTE courses is 82.9%, compared to 84.4% last year. For the sixth consecutive year, the percentage of students who were identified as gifted and talented increased. 1,253 students are being served through our gifted and talented program this year, compared to 1,201 last year. Since 2016, the percentage of students served in that program has grown by 3.3%. The percentage of district students who qualify for and are receiving services through special education also increased. 13.4% of our students are receiving services through special education, and that represents an increase of 5.9% since 2017. We began our look at teacher demographics by looking at the change in the student-to-teacher ratio. The district student-to-teacher ratio shrank even further in 2021. For the sixth consecutive year, our teacher-to-student ratio has improved every year, meaning that in general, our class sizes are smaller. BISD teachers continue to be among the highest paid in the state. This table provides a quick glance at the average salary trend line compared to that of the state since 2015. BISD continues to pay teachers above the state average. And it should be noted, this information is based strictly on salaries. When the various stipends we offer are factored in, the average salary is much higher. The teacher turnover rate continues to be below that of the state. And as you can see from this graphic, the district turnover rate is the lowest and the best since 2015, despite the impacts of COVID-19 on our staff. In fact, AP Boydell had a 100% teacher retention rate last year. The work of the Board of Trustees to ensure that teachers are well paid, that stipends are competitive, and that incentives are in place to encourage teacher retention positively impacted the turnover percentage. Our teachers are well paid and well supported. This is the fourth consecutive year that the BISD teacher turnover rate was below that of the state. The next slide illustrates the percentage of BISD central office administrators compared to the state average. Our percentage is very low, sitting at 1.1% last year. From 2014-15 through 2016-17, the district percentage of central office administrators declined. In 2017-18, TEA expanded role ID for auxiliary positions, which then captured central office positions that were not previously reported through PEAMS, specialists, clerks, those kinds of folks. Following a slight bump in the percentage in 2018-19, BISD has made reductions to central office positions while adding 52 teachers, even as enrollment declined by 493 students. From the taper, we now turn our attention to the remaining few required reports that help to make up the annual performance report. The first of these reports is the progress campuses are making toward accomplishing their 2021-2022 performance objectives. Campuses created fewer and much more focused performance objectives for this school year. These objectives address improving Tier 1 instruction, closing learning gaps, increasing college, career, and military readiness, ensuring that learning environments are safe, and that students' social, emotional, and mental health needs are addressed. They also address increasing parent and family engagement, utilizing state and federal funds to improve student outcomes, and developing and supporting staff. This This graphic is an at-a-glance look at the level of implementation of the strategies that are supporting campus performance objectives. When all of the campus's second quarter formative reviews are combined, 77.7% of improvement strategies have either been accomplished or considerable progress is being made toward their accomplishment. So let's break it out a little bit. As this bar graph illustrates, as campuses evaluated their mid-year progress, most elementary school campuses reported making considerable progress toward or accomplishing the strategies that support their performance objectives. Since campuses have the autonomy to design campus plans that address the unique needs of their school, strategies vary from campus to campus. That's why you see variances in the progress. At the end of January, all of them are on track to accomplish or make significant progress toward meeting their performance objectives for this year. Our secondary school campuses also show different levels of progress. Most of them made considerable progress or accomplished many of their strategies. Even though Brazosport High School has fewer strategies rated as considerable progress or accomplished, that campus, along with the other secondary schools, is on track to accomplish or make significant progress toward meeting their performance objectives for the year. The next report included in tonight's presentation is the 2021 School Safety Report. Texas statute requires every district to publish a report on school safety at their schools. BISD publishes this report on our website under required postings. The online report includes a table that provides statutorily required data along with a complete listing of district safety initiatives. BISD has in place prevention and intervention policies to help prevent violent and criminal offenses from occurring. BISD offers campus-level training of students and staff in violence awareness and prevention, bullying awareness and prevention, and character education. Each BISD campus has a crisis intervention team, whose role it is to identify, assess, and implement appropriate measures with individuals whose behavior raises concerns for potential violence. BISD offers campus-level counseling supports to students, and community resources are available to counselors to use when referring students who are in crisis for additional intervention. In 2020-2021, there were a total of 8 incidents that met the statutory definition of a violent or a criminal offense. The 8 incidents occurred on a total of 4 campuses, with no more than 3 on any one campus. Since the number of incidents at each of the 4 campuses is less than 5, to list the incidents by campus would violate purple law, since it would be possible for individual students to be identified. Therefore, the report for this year will be a district-only report. BISD has in place 68 programs to support student safety. The programs you see on this slide support all of the campuses in our district. To see the complete list broken out by campuses, go to the Annual Performance Report link under Required Postings on the district website. Safety initiatives used on all campuses include mentoring programs, character education, increased counseling support, anti-bullying and human trafficking programs, and positive behavior intervention and support. Campuses use restorative practices and the assistance of a behavior team to better support students who need that support, and our district police officers and campus health and safety specialists support increased campus security. We also provide increased mental health support through the Community Health Network and through the Brazoria County Counseling Center. Additionally, secondary high school teachers have received ongoing training in capturing kids' hearts. The final item in the 2021 Annual Performance Report is the report of high school graduates' enrollment and academic performance in Texas public higher education. In this report, student performance is measured by the grade point average earned by 2018-2019 high school graduates who attended public 4-year and 2-year higher education in Texas during fiscal year 2020. 2 years ago, 451 members of the class of 2019, or 51.8%, started on a path to higher education in Texas. Of those students, 435 started down that path in Texas public 2- and 4-year institutions. 60% of the students who attended a 4-year public institution in Texas had a GPA of 2.5 or better. I've included the report of high school graduates' enrollment and academic performance in Texas public tonight's board book, and the report will be posted on the district website. The BISD 2021 Annual Performance Report provides evidence that district initiatives are effective in improving student outcomes. While there remain opportunities for improvement, there can be no doubt that the district is continuing to move in the right direction in our pursuit to graduate each student to be future ready. This concludes the public hearing of the 2021 Annual Performance Report. All of the annual report documents can be accessed by clicking on required postings on the district website under resources. Since this is a public hearing, I am happy to answer any clarifying questions from the board or from the audience.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, Ron, on the lagging indicators page.
Yes, sir?
I noticed there was a 13-point drop. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yes.
I had it in the law.
Endorsement plans, right?
Yeah, the graduation plan.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is there any major reason, and I was looking at the grads, I'm talking about the advanced and endorsed plans. What do we attribute that to? Anything particular, or?
The only thing that I could attribute it to, and I've thought a lot about it over the last few days in looking at data, I think part of it was the COVID spring, I think had some impact on us, and being able to just basically get kids across the finish line. But the other piece too is, believe it or not, our BSA students, most of those kids don't graduate on the minimum plan. They graduate with an endorsement. But when we're in a situation like we were in that COVID spring, I think that we had a lot more of them who graduated just with their minimum foundation program. So I think that had to have some impact. I have not been able to put my finger on anything else in looking at it, but other than that impact that it had.
I was just, it kind of jumped out at me a little bit.
Yes, and I thought it might. It did me, but I thought it might.
I might add real quick.
Yes, thank you, Brian.
I believe we were also able to graduate students because of the STAR test, which can be a blockade
That's
for
right.
some students that year. So there were more students that would have met the private
Yes.
credit criteria for a non-endorsement plan.
That is
They were
correct.
still working to pass the STAR test. So
Okay.
that's one thing that
That's
just
correct.
shows you the impact that the STAR test can have on students and their graduation. There would be a contributing factor.
On the 2021 CCMR result chart, one thing that I'm impressed with is the fact that, of course, COVID-21 is the last one, but Brazosport and BSA both went up 15 to 20 points on their rating, and I
Yeah.
think that's something district went up about 13, 14 points too, so I think that's a great tribute to our teachers, what they did to get the kids ready in a bad time.
And Coach, I kind of blew through it, but what really stands out to me on this whole thing is they got all this done before we closed. We didn't get a chance to get to the certification exams. We didn't get a chance to get to the spring testing. It was impressive what they accomplished with our kids that year.
Very much so, very much so.
Any other questions from the board? From the audience? All right, hearing none, then we will close the public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Redden.
Thank you all very much.
This time, in accordance with BED Local, the board will provide an audience with individuals who have signed up prior to the meeting to address the board. Tonight, we do not have any, so we'll move on to the next item. The consent agenda. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent agenda? Anyone? All right, hearing none, then do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion.
Moved by Mr. Dunn, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Reinhardt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. That carries. Thank you. Next thing we have on our agenda are our action items. 10A, video camera in special education classrooms. Mr. Merkel.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy EHVAF Local and Brazosport ISD Strategic Goal Number 2, in which learning environments will be safe and conducive to student learning, It is my pleasure to present this request for the use of video, audio, recording equipment in our special education classrooms. Texas Education Code Section 29.022 requires districts to conduct video and audio surveillance in certain special education classrooms or settings upon request. The statute is intended to protect students who, because of a disability, may not be able to report mistreatment by other students or district employees. Under Texas Education Code Section 29.022, the process to install cameras and audio equipment in classrooms is as follows. A written request is submitted to the principal. Authorization for cameras is either granted or denied based on whether or not the classroom qualifies under the code. And if authorization is granted, cameras must be operational within 45 days. We are requesting that video and audio equipment be installed permanently in 3 settings which are allowable under Section 29.022, and that would be in our elementary and secondary life skills classrooms, our best classrooms, and our calm down rooms. By installing and allowing the cameras to be continuously active, any requested reviews can be conducted and responded to immediately. This would allow us to be more expedient in addressing any potential safety issues, thus avoiding any delays in waiting for cameras or audio equipment to be installed. All other current policies and procedures regarding cameras, audio, and special education classrooms will remain in place as they now currently exist. This will include that video footage will only be reviewed when a request has been made. Video footage is only applicable for safety reasons. It cannot be used for active monitoring. It cannot be used for evaluation purposes or any other use. In addition, camera footage can only be viewed and distributed in accordance with Texas Education Code 29.022. That means confidentiality of recordings will be enforced and remain the same as our current practices. Video audio signage will be posted on all doors indicating recording is in progress, and students, parents, and teachers will be informed, like we currently do, via campus notification into our special education meetings. We have had an increase in the enrollment of our life skills and best programs and feel there's a need for installing this equipment in those classes to ensure the safety of both of our students and our staff members. This will support school and district administrators to expedite addressing any safety concerns and to resolve potential issues as they occur, avoid wait time for camera audio installation, and again ensure the safety of our students and faculty members, which is our highest priority. It is the recommendation from the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the permanent installation and use of cameras or audio recording equipment in all our best life skills and calm down rooms. This time I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board?
John, only administrators will be allowed to view the tapes from this.
None of the practices change that we're currently doing. Administrators have to view it, they have to follow FERPA rights. Everything stays the same. It just allows us to have the cameras in place right now.
Okay.
If a parent made a request today for the camera, it would be installed.
Who has control of those cameras? In this video of that? Is that something where is it stored?
It falls under Texas Education Code, so we have to follow all the rules that they have. So if there's more than one student in there, we got to mark them out of it. Principals have to work with parents if they put in a request. They can only be used for safety purposes. All the same rules apply, it just puts the cameras in, which is, we've had increased numbers in enrollment, so those numbers in those classes are getting a little tighter, and it would really help expedite some of our potential problems.
How long do we have to store that?
3 months is how long we have to keep the video camera footage, but we only really use it when we have someone who puts it for a safety issue.
In general, I'm going to say I'm against this. I understand the process of this, and I say that in general because I don't like cameras in classrooms, but I understand the purpose of this. I just want to make sure, over the last 12 to 18 months, we've had a number of policy and procedure guidelines for an activity or for a sport or for an activity not well documented, and it's created issues for us, both as a district and as a board. I want to make sure that these policies and procedures of how people are restrained, how people are attended to, all those kinds of things are clearly communicated to and from the parents, because as you all know, once we get things on video, snippets and out of context and editing, things happen. And so I just really want that process well documented to protect our teachers that we value in these jobs, because these are not easy to obtain jobs. These people are doing it 9 times out of 10 because of a calling in these life skills and all that. And my mother did it for a number of years, and it's not something, you know, this takes a special person to do. And so we want to make sure that we're protecting them too.
Right.
And we're not doing this as a witch hunt or anything like that. I just want to make sure that that's clear to these teachers too.
Most of the teachers behind this?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, the camera footage actually helps us.
I understand.
Yeah.
It does help us when used properly.
Right.
And so I just want to make sure from a policy and procedure documentation standpoint that all of those, and I talked a little bit to Lauren before this, but all of those are in place and we have them well documented and well communicated between both the parent and staff, so that there are no questions when this video starts being viewed.
Mr. Gardner, it's very similar to what the cameras that we already had in place. No one can view anything on that without going, so the policies exist now that absolutely no one can access anything, not live footage or recorded footage, without starting that process, even for a camera that a parent requested. So all that's been vetted technically.
It's not, but once that video is viewed, the perception of that video changes instantly. And so we need to make sure that our policies and procedures are in place to protect our teachers, so that when they do have an incident or do have a restraint or whatever needs to happen to help assist that student in an accident or whatever happens, it's well documented, it's well what the policy and procedures are, so that they know they follow them and we can resolve them of that quickly.
I do want to let you know that our operating procedures for special education are posted on our internal BConnect site, our district website, and they're also linked into the legal framework, which is accessible throughout the state of Texas, which shows all of our policies for interventions with students, especially students that are exhibiting difficult behaviors, and it cites the appropriate protocols that we use in the district. So those are in place, just to let y'all know that. And then as far as viewing the cameras, there is a specific protocol for viewing that's done with specific people. If there is an issue regarding any interventions that are used for the student, people who are highly trained in that, which I work actually with the Department of Student Services, have to be in there to view, to monitor all that as part of our current operating procedures.
Just want to make sure those are in place before we go down this path, because it's going to be important to give peace of mind and protection to our teachers too as well, which I know our students are utmost priority, but we need to protect our teachers too in these situations.
Well, thank you for the question, I respect it. Any other questions?
Do we anticipate increasing numbers as we go? You know, it's 50, right? I mean, we're looking at installing 50 cameras throughout the district.
Right now, I would say no, but if our enrollment increases in
Right,
those
that's what I'm
programs,
saying,
then
yeah.
that may be a possibility, yes.
And this is going to be bond money?
Yes, sir.
Bond money. So we got that under the category?
Under technology.
Okay.
Can we also get a report in a year if we are now all of a sudden have a flood of requests for viewing the video?
Sure.
Maybe report back to us at this time next year about if this has created a secondary effect.
We currently keep track of everything.
Yeah, I understand, but just so that we can see that.
Sure. Any other questions?
Any other questions from the board?
Well, yeah, so all this will go to our new tech center over there, is that where it'll
Part
go
of
and
the-
be stored? I assume somebody looks to make sure it's recorded, because that would be
It's
worse.
part of our existing system, but the access to those
Right.
are, so, correct.
But,
And then another thing that has worked out well for us, because we know supply chain issues are abound for everything, we do already have cameras for our overall district refresh, and so we can pull from those and get these in place, with, assuming, where everybody's good with everything, and then we'll backfill for the general district replacement, because it'll probably be, 4 or 5 months before we are able to actually get new physical cameras.
So do we know the timing of these 50 installations?
we've already gotten quotes for cabling, and we've already got the cabling in hand, the cameras in hand, so it should be very, very quickly.
In the year? In the school year?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Audience? All right, we have a motion before us. Do I have a motion? Do I have a recommendation? Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion to approve the permanent installation of the cameras for special needs areas, I guess.
Been moved by Jerry. Do I have a second? By Mr. Dunn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries. Next item we have under action 10B, the instructional calendar for the 2022-2023 year. Dr. Robin Hill.
Good evening, Superintendent Massey, Board President Howard, and board members. In accordance with Board Policy EB Legal, it is my pleasure to present the recommended 2022-23 instructional calendar. The process for creating the 2022-2023 instructional calendar began in October, when a calendar committee was formed and the development of drafts was initiated. The calendar committee was made up of principals, assistant principals, teachers, and counselors, along with the district administrators who represent the departments of curriculum and instruction, academics, professional learning, administrative services, and student assessment. Among the 14 committee members, there were representatives from Freeport, Clute, and Lake Jackson, as well as from elementary, middle, intermediate, and high schools. During the development process, these highly qualified professionals focused on the guiding question, what are the best calendar decisions to support quality instruction, including the prioritization of addressing huge instructional gaps and balanced semesters. They also reviewed the many factors to be considered when creating an instructional calendar as listed on this slide. In addition, the committee prioritized having staff start on a Monday, no sooner than August 8th, students start no sooner than a Wednesday during the week of August 15th, and finishing the school year prior to the end of May. There was also an effort to place student holidays on Fridays when possible, and have at least 3 school days in a week during weeks that have holidays. Finally, with 187 total staff days to determine, the committee considered professional development needs and decided to have one draft that would mirror this year's calendar with 172 student days and 15 staff days, and develop another draft that provided 171 days of instruction and 16 staff days. This allowed the opportunity to evaluate the appropriate balance of instructional and professional development. 2 drafts were developed to best meet the instructional needs, and staff feedback was collected through an online survey that asked for professional preference between the 2 options, as well as gave the opportunity for written feedback for committee consideration. 715 district and campus staff members responded to the survey. 34% were parents of BISD students, and 53% of those who completed the survey are classroom teachers. 64% of those who completed the survey preferred calendar B. When looking at just votes of BISD teachers, the results are nearly identical. 63% of BISD teachers prefer calendar B. 44% rated the choices as an A, and 83% rated the choices as A or B, which indicates satisfaction for the instructional calendars that were developed. All of this information was reviewed by the calendar committee for further consideration and action. The 2 drafts, the survey results, and a summary of the staff feedback was then presented to a 36-member District Educational Improvement Committee consisting of district and campus representatives, as well as parents, community members, and business representatives. After discussion, the DEIC voted on which calendar they felt best allowable due to approval of our District of Innovation Plan. Labor Day is a holiday for staff and students in September. There is a break in October for students, while teachers recharge by participating in 2 days of professional development. These days are intentionally designed to best support the work of professional learning communities, which is a valued initiative in BISD. District-led data reviews and instructional planning will take place on the first day, followed by campus-based data reviews and instructional planning on the second day. Staff and students will enjoy a full week off at Thanksgiving. 2 early release days are provided for high schools at the end of each semester for final exams, and all students have an early release on the last day of each semester. Staff return from the winter break on January 3rd to a professional development day, followed by a teacher preparation day, and students return on January 5th. Martin Luther King Day is a holiday for students and staff, and 2 days of professional development are scheduled for staff in February, providing students with a 2-day holiday that coincides with President's Day. Spring break will be the week of March 13th through the 17th at the same time as Brazosport College, and a holiday is provided on April 7th, the Friday prior to Easter. The second exchange day is on April 10th, the Monday following Easter. The school year ends for students on Thursday, May 25th, and campus staff end their school year on Friday, May 26th, prior to the Memorial Day weekend. The recommendation being presented includes 187 staff days and 171 instructional days. This is one less student day than the current calendar, because a professional development day was added to the calendar in January. With the instructional day being 7 hours and 45 minutes in length, this still exceeds the minimum state required 75,600 minutes by over 7 days for elementary, middle, and intermediate schools, and over 6 days for high schools, which we have learned is valuable in reducing the likelihood of having to add minutes to schedule following unexpected school closures for events such as hurricanes and ice days. This calendar is presented to you as best meeting the instructional needs of students in Brazosport Independent School District. It is the recommendation of administration that the board approve the 2022-23 Brazosport instructional calendar as presented. I would be happy to answer any clarifying questions you may have at this time.
Any questions from our board?
Will the students be okay with one less instructional?
I'm betting that they won't mind.
I guess the only thing I saw was
We can hold it for approval if you want. Poll of you.
after the Christmas holiday, we come back to 2 days for the students, and I have a feeling attendance probably will be a little lower those 2 days, so, but that's fine. The teacher prep day is pretty good. That, I guess the Sunday, Monday holiday kind of throws things off, so, glad to hear that.
There'll be
Spring break.
2 days for students there.
Yeah, and it's, the old adage, I can take 2 days vacation, that's 7 days off.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
That'll happen quickly.
Yeah, we'll certainly monitor that, yeah. The early dismissal days, how many were those?
There's 4 total.
Okay.
2 for the high school, there's 4, the 2 days at the end of each semester. And then for elementary, middle, and intermediate, there's 2, 1 at the end of each semester.
So it's just at the end of the semester, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
God, I had asked earlier about the exchange days. I don't know.
That's the best thing this board has done in the past 6 years, is getting rid of all half days.
Yeah. Nothing.
Except for the last day of each semester.
All right, if
You're
there are
welcome.
no questions from the board or any questions?
I recommend that we approve the.
Keep your salaries and other.
All right, it's been moved by Jerry that we accept it. Y'all behave. Do I have a second? Second by Joe. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Sutton. Excuse me. Next item we have on our action items on the agenda is to attract and to retain stipends. Ms. Kirshner. popular person in the room.
It's been that way lately. Good evening, Superintendent Massey, President Howard, and board members. In alignment with Board Policy CE Local and Legal and Board Goal 5, the IC will recruit, develop, and retain highly effective staff. It is my pleasure to present to you tonight the proposed attract and retain stipend plan. The Texas Education Code allows the district Board of Trustees the ability to amend previously approved budgets, and the board-approved compensation plan also allows for the Board of Trustees to review and modify stipends and incentives periodically, dependent on available funding. In addition, ESSER funds may be used to address educator shortages as a result of the pandemic by hiring new teachers, including expanded student access to a well-prepared and diverse educator workforce. The state of Texas is currently experiencing teacher shortages, and Brazosport ISD has reviewed innovative strategies to retain certified teachers currently employed by the district and to attract talent to fill teacher vacancies for the 22-23 school year. Due to these teacher shortages in Texas, the ISD administration proposes the following strategy to retain existing certified teachers and to attract future talent. While districts across the state are focused on attracting talent to fill classroom vacancies, the ISD believes it is important that we first focus on retaining existing classroom teachers and recognizing their continued commitment to our students, district, and community. Brazosport ISD teachers currently on contract during the 21-22 school year will be eligible for a $1,000 retention stipend if they sign their contract and fully complete the 22-23 school year. This stipend would be payable to eligible employees in September of 2022. Understanding the challenges with teacher shortages in Texas and throughout the nation, Brazosport ISD recruiting efforts will expand our borders and propose the following strategies to support our 22-23 recruiting efforts. Any newly hired teacher who signs a contract for the 22-23 school year will be eligible for a $1,000 retention stipend if they also fully complete the 22-23 school year. This stipend would be payable to eligible employees in August of 2022. In addition, any newly hired certified teacher who signs a contract for 22-23 and moves within 50 miles of the school district would be eligible for a $3,000 relocation stipend. This will require a 2-year retention agreement with the district. This stipend will also be payable to eligible employees in August of 2022. This semester, we have interviewed and provided letters of intent to certified candidates in both Alaska and Tennessee. As I mentioned, we're expanding our borders. The wages in Texas, and specifically Brazosport ISD, attract talent from outside of Region 4 and the state of Texas. This strategy will support a candidate's decision to join the Brazosport ISD family. Administration recommends that the attract and retain stipend utilizing ESSER funds in the amount of $1.2 million be approved as presented. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I think that if we're gonna retain our own teachers, we pay them more than the teachers we're bringing in. So I can't really support this unless we increase our teachers that are here presently. And that's not right. Sorry, we have people coming into the district, we have people that are here, they're signing their contract. They should get a little bit higher retention fund than people just signing the contract first right out of the box.
We have about 952 teachers who totally agree with that statement as well.
Yeah, Mr. Reinhardt, we did review our amount of ESSER money available that we would feel comfortable to spend towards this, and moving up the retention to $1,200 would be an increase of about approximately $200,000 total. We felt comfortable doing. So the retention would be $1,200, and new teacher sign-on would be $1,000.
I can live with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great change. Keeping our own is important.
I move that we approve it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not sure that $1,000 sign-on bonus with the $3,000 relocation, I mean, that's, do we?
Do you get both?
Huh? Yep.
They'd be
So,
eligible for that.
be eligible. Now, I assume the $3,000 is just a lump sum payment to move, not,
Yes,
not
it has an,
cover expenses.
right, it's a lump sum payment, it'd have a 2-year retention agreement, so they'd have to fully complete 2 years.
Right.
Or they'd be responsible for reimbursing the district based on that agreement we put in place.
Well, based on, that relocation expense, you know, I know we have the money, but it's kind of like the money does go away, so would we consider a $500 sign-on bonus, or is that not enough to, make it worthwhile for new people?
Yeah, I think we have to be competitive with what districts are doing around us, so when we are at career fairs, that, you know, our incentives or stipends are equivalent to those around us.
And that's just for this year, correct? It's not a lifetime, we're not
This is
committing
just
to
for
ever.
22,
Yeah, just
23
1 year
school year.
commitment to this
Yes.
program.
So we're looking at 1.4 million.
1.4 million was the adjustment Mr.
All right, so
Reinhardt.
from-
And not every new hire will be eligible for the relocation stipend.
That's what I was
So,
gonna,
so if they're within the 50-mile boundary and we're recruiting them and they onboard with us, then they would only get $1,000. So only if they are relocating within the 50-mile boundary would they be eligible for the 3,000 stipend. So we only factored into the budget
30
30
assignments.
relocation stipends on top of $150, $100, or $1,000 stipends for new hires
So we're thinking only 30 from,
for relocation.
yeah, but, I mean, our turnover rate is, 140,
But,
150,
yeah,
so,
150 teachers.
so only 30 would come from, okay. I mean,
From
yeah, that's
outside
fine.
of 50 miles
Right.
was our projection.
These are it's for a teacher who is already teaching. Or I'm asking, the relocation or that money, is that for somebody who just graduated college?
Could be, yes, sir.
Aren't most of those gonna be beyond 50 miles?
Unless some of them are here locally, but yes.
I could just see it going up way over 30.
I guess, I'm sure you've used previous years' data to kind of come to the 30 conclusion.
Yeah, but you see a $3,000
Yeah.
bump, I mean, that certainly would get my attention.
I can admit, you all.
That's the hope.
$500.
That's the hope, yes, that's the plan.
We wanted to consider here first, we don't have to hire them, we wanted to
You could go to
consider here first.
HBU and graduate and get $3,000 moving 5 miles down the road.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing, and you look around and people are doing the same thing, so.
Yeah, we looked at south of the Beltway, the Beltway is about 48 miles, kind of with our boundary, south, they could move south of the Beltway, that would give a commute, a reasonable commute.
To stay within an hour commute is approximately 50 miles.
All right, we have a recommendation, unless there's any questions from the audience.
I do want to clarify the
12 and 8?
the $1,200 bonus for the retention, we talked about briefly, the contract will go out middle of April sometime, or close to the bottom of April.
Yes, sir. So renewals we presented to the board in April, and then at the April board meeting, and it usually takes us about 4 to 5 business days to finalize all the contracts, and we'll submit those to employees, and they will have 10 days to sign that and return it.
Okay, so that's the 10-day, okay, so, probably middle of May timeframe.
Yes, sir.
Should we have a lottery for the first 10 that sign up?
I promise that now that they're electronic, they come in fast.
Maybe.
Except for the one or two we don't get.
Yeah.
All right, so just for clarification, the 1,200 for the existing teachers, 1,000 for new, 3,000 on top of that for transfers.
Or relocation.
Relocation, beyond 50 miles. All right. I need a motion.
I move that we recommend, or do we approve the attract and retain stipend using ESSER funds in the amount of $1,200,000.
It'll be 1.4 million with the.
Zero.
Yeah, there's an extra zero.
Oh, sorry. We didn't get
I've never seen that amount of money before, but maybe it'll work somewhere.
So it would be 1.4 million.
1.4, I'm sorry.
$1.4 million, that's my motion.
There's a comma missing.
There's the zero.
Well, there's 2,000.
I caught it.
1 million, then 1 million.
CFO to tell us what the number that is.
Yes.
1.4 million.
Yeah, the recommendation is that the board approve the attract and retain stipend in the amount of $1.4 million, which would be $1,200 for existing staff, $1,000 for new staff, and then a $3,000 relocation stipend.
All right, we have a motion by Joe, and I need a second. Second by Mr. Dunn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed by nay. All right, that carries.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, have
Thank
it.
you for being so, understanding.
We
While you're
appreciate
there-
the support.
While you're there, our next item on our agenda is board resolution for employee compensation and disaster leave due to the inclement weather.
Thank you. In accordance with Board Policy DEA local and district goals, BIC will recruit, develop, and retain highly effective staff. It is my pleasure to present administration's recommendation regarding employee compensation during the school closure in February due to inclement weather. Chapter 45 of the Texas Education Code describes and authorizes expenditures for Texas school districts. Section 45.105C of the Texas Education Code states that local school funds may be used for purposes necessary in the conduct of public schools determined by the Board of Trustees. And in Section 21.401C provides that if the Commissioner reduces the number of days in accordance with Section 25.081B, such reduction will not result in the reduction of an educator's salary. This resolution provides that the Brazosport Independent School District Board of Trustees finds that a public purpose exists to pay employees for the day missed as a result of inclement weather on February 4th, 2022, and that such payments are necessary in the conduct of public schools in accordance with Texas Education Code Section 45.105C. The resolution provides that the Brazosport Independent School District compensate any non-exempt employee who is required to report to duty on Friday, February 4th, 2022, at their regular rate of pay, in addition to the pay all employees will receive at a maximum rate of double time for this closure. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the employee compensation resolution as presented and documented in the board resolution included in board book as presented.
All right, any questions from the board? Audience?
Do we have any idea how many had to come to work on that project in Knott Road?
I do not know. I do know that there were some maintenance employees and some custodial that did come in on that day, but I do not have an exact count.
That's minimal.
All right, we have a recommendation.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution as presented for employee compensation.
It has been moved by Jerry to accept the recommendation as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Reinhardt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item we have on our agenda under reports is the 2021-2022 District Improvement Plan for the second quarter. Mr. Redden. Air conditioner works.
Yes, sir. I was a little worried. Come back on.
Well, good evening once again. It is a little chilly. Good evening once again. In alignment with board policy, BQ local, and each district goal, it's my pleasure to deliver the report on the second quarter progress made on the district improvement plan. You have a copy of the second quarter formative review in your board book. There it goes. I don't know if this is user error or technical difficulties. There it goes. The District Improvement Plan required under Chapter 11 of the Texas Education Code is a comprehensive plan to improve the district in each of the 5 areas covered by our district goals. The 2021-22 plan has a total of 13 performance objectives and 72 strategies to support the district's 5 goals. The board adopted House Bill 3 goals for early childhood literacy, early numeracy, and college and career military readiness, and these goals are included in the plan as performance objectives under District Goal 1. Performance objectives that support District Goal 1 address improving early literacy and numeracy skills, closing learning gaps, increasing college, career, and military readiness, and the continued implementation of the curriculum audit recommendations. Goal 2 performance objectives address the health, safety, and social, emotional, and mental health needs of students. objectives that support Goal 3 address improving customer service across the district. Goal 4 performance objectives address improving the technology infrastructure and using supplemental funding to support special programs, the overall instructional program, and efforts to close learning gaps. Performance objectives for Goal 5 address staff recruitment, support, development, and retention. During each formative review, strategies that support the accomplishment of performance objectives are evaluated as discontinued, no progress, some progress, considerable progress, and accomplished. Discontinued means that the strategy has been discontinued for the year. No progress means that 0 to 4% of progress toward accomplishing the strategy's intended outcome has been made, and this is most commonly seen with strategies that are implemented according to a specific time frame. Some progress means that 5 to 49% of progress has been made toward accomplishing the strategy's intended outcome, and considerable progress means that from 50 to 95% of progress has been made. Accomplished means that the strategy outcome was met. This graphic illustrates the progress made toward accomplishing intended outcomes during the second quarter. Specifically, 0% were discontinued, 0% were rated as no progress, 8.3% were rated as some progress, 63.9% were rated as considerable progress, and 27.8% were rated as accomplished. I've added this slide. Here you can see the progress report showing you the changes in each measure from the first quarter to the second quarter. You can see the growth in progress that we're making. Of the 23 strategies that support the 5 performance objectives under District Goal 1, 6 were completed or accomplished, and considerable progress was made on 17 of them. Literacy specialists continue to monitor the implementation of reading and writing by visiting classrooms and training teachers during PLCs and District PD. During the second quarter, early literacy specialists trained principals on using empowering writers' resources. Also during the second quarter, principals worked with math teachers to set math annual performance goals for their students, and as a result, STAR, RAN, and CBA data are showing math growth. Closing learning gaps caused by COVID-19 remains the top priority for our district. Students continue to receive the supplemental support they need to help them improve their math and reading skills through embedded interventions, tutorials, special classes, and additional personnel funded using federal funds. Additionally, to support the improved performance of our bilingual education in English as a second language students, an area for improvement that was identified under the results-driven accountability system, language acquisition coordinators visited classrooms to monitor the implementation of the reading curriculum, and they provided teachers with specific feedback regarding that implementation. Teachers and campus administrators were also provided with training on providing linguistic accommodations, and the Director of Language Acquisition visited classrooms with a consultant to monitor the use of language supports in instruction, and she created an on-site coaching plan for classrooms that support English learners. There are 18 strategies that support the 2 performance objectives under Goal 2. During the second quarter, 4 were completed or accomplished. Considerable progress was made on 13 of them, and some progress was made on 1 strategy. And I see the smiles. Jay, that is a great picture. I got to tell you, that when I saw that one pop up, I thought that one I have to have. That's a good one. The performance objectives for Goal 2 set targets that ensure that health and safety of students and staff in all learning environments, along with the social and emotional learning needs of students, were attended to. During the second quarter, 88 of 129, or 68%, of the district and campus threat assessment team members completed the behavior threat assessment training provided by the Texas School Safety Center. 17 of our 19 campuses now have at least 2 members who have completed the state-level training. Campuses have begun utilizing the Catch My Breath curriculum with their students to support efforts to combat the use of vaping and e-cigarettes. The goal of this initiative is to have each campus complete the curriculum lessons with their students by the end of this month, February. In addition, the prevention specialist has included community groups in the education about the dangers of vaping and e-cigarettes by attending numerous community events. To address current concerns that were raised due to high-profile incidents that occurred in the fall, This January, all campus leaders reviewed data related to fighting and assaults on campuses and received a framework to enable them to develop their own strategic plan to assess and address campus-level needs. As an additional measure, coaching was provided to them in February to support their ongoing efforts to make their campus learning environment safe and conducive to learning. The district partnership with communities and schools expanded this year to include Brazosport High School, Brazos Success Academy, Stephen F. Austin Elementary School, and Freeport Elementary School. Over 500 at-risk students have been identified and are currently being monitored and served throughout the district by a collaborative team of counselors, LPCs, and communities and schools site coordinators. There are 3 strategies that support the one performance objective under District Goal 3. That objective is to provide de-escalation training and customer satisfaction tools to office staff across the district, resulting in an increase from 81 to 90% customer service rating on the end-of-year parent survey. One of the 3 strategies was completed or accomplished in the first quarter, and considerable progress was made on the second one, with some progress being made on the third during the second quarter. The first strategy was to launch a survey for all frontline staff to identify customer service strengths and weaknesses. That survey was launched and completed in the fall, and as a result of the survey, the communications team researched various customer satisfaction trainings during December and January and booked Jeff Nash of American Association of School Customer Service to do a full day of training for 2 groups of our frontline staff on March 22nd and 23rd. Once the training is completed, the communications team will utilize the training strategies to implement a customer service induction plan for all new staff that would be implemented this summer. District Goal 4 is really a 2-part goal. The first part of the goal states that Brazosport ISD will exercise fiscal responsibility to ensure financial strength, and the second part that the district will provide resources to equip and maintain quality facilities and educational programming. BISD continues to set the standard for the use of technology to support key district initiatives. During the second quarter of the 17 strategies under the 2 Goal 4 performance objectives, 4 were completed or accomplished. Considerable progress was made on 8 of them, and some progress was made on 5. The technology department is busy installing new circuits district-wide to increase throughput across the district-wide network and internet access. During the second quarter, the AT&T installation team completed 9 campuses and is scheduled to continue to install the remaining circuits at each campus during February. The main circuit at the new data center has been issued and is scheduled to be cut over in the very near future. In the future command center, the virtual server has been set up. Johnson Control is in the process of configuring that server. Additional on-site work is happening as well, and the project is moving along as scheduled. The vape sensors have been installed and passed into the network. Technology is working with JCI on setting up that server. To combat cybersecurity, workstations and servers are being updated and vulnerabilities are under review. In addition, new antivirus software has been implemented and the district devices are being scanned and imaged as needed. In the area of funding and finance, IDEAB, or funds that support special education, were used to provide federally funded personnel across the district to support services to special education served students. The Department of Language Acquisition used federal funding to provide teachers with training for the ESL certification test. Additionally, the Language Acquisition Department is collaborating with community entities to provide more resources for our English learner parents. Finally, funding from the early education allotment was utilized to support teachers who are completing the House Bill 3 Texas Reading Academies to provide additional staff and to provide classroom resources. There are 11 strategies that support the 3 performance objectives under District Goal 5. 5 were completed or accomplished. Considerable progress was made on 6 of them. The 3 performance objectives under Goal 5 are somewhat different, but all support recruiting, developing, and retaining highly effective staff. The first performance objective seeks to ensure that BISD will continue to build awareness and presence with to ensure that 10 or more student teachers are assigned to the district for the school year. After the fall 2021 semester, we retained 6 clinical teachers, and we currently have an additional 8 clinical teachers for the spring 2022. Brazosport ISD also executed a new MOU with Grand Canyon University and expanded existing MOUs with Western Governors University and Brazosport College. The second performance objective seeks to ensure that teachers are receiving high-quality professional development that will support their efforts to improve classroom instruction and student performance. The district is in the final stages of evaluating and recommending changes for the 22-23 to the current instructional coaching program. Additionally, 3rd grade and new K through 2nd grade teachers are currently implementing House Bill 3 Reading Academy modules as outlined in the pacing guide provided by TEA. And students have been screened with Star Renaissance, and the middle of year screeners showed growth in K through 5th grade. The third performance objective says that compensatory education funds will be used to provide teachers and paraprofessionals who will support improved student performance by providing timely interventions to students at the 2 additional targeted support and 4 targeted support and intervention campuses that were identified as part of the 2019 State Accountability System. Those supplemental staff have been provided to each of those campuses. This concludes my report on the second quarter of the District Improvement Plan. Since this is a report, board action is not required. I will return in April with the third quarter review, and at this time, I'm happy to answer any clarifying questions you may have.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Red? From the audience? All right, hearing none, thank you, Mr. Red.
Thank you, sir.
Next on our agenda, under reports, is a student outcomes update by Brian Cole. Very dapper.
Thank you very much. Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy EH Local and the District Goal, Brazosport ISD will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience to ensure that every student will be future ready. It is my pleasure this evening to present a report on college, career, and military readiness. Earlier this school year, the student outcomes goal for Brazosport ISD was set for college, career, and military-ready graduates. It reads the percentage of graduates that meet the criteria for college, career, and military readiness will increase from 58% to 70% by August of 2026. The goal for this year, the target for this year, is 62%. Just a reminder, 60% is an A rating. So let's take a look at where this year's seniors were based on data from the Texas Education Agency released this summer. So based on data from the state shown in this chart, and it's important to note that this data is from the 2020 school year, 26% of this year's seniors, or last year's juniors, were CCMR ready at the end of 2020, and that is their sophomore year. So this is 3 percentage points above the state, despite key opportunities during that 2020 year that were missed for SAT, industry-based certifications due to COVID. This just serves also as a reminder of the complexity of tracking the data in real time due to the multitude of data sources that contribute to being college, career, military readiness. It takes the state an extra year to process all of the data that we're trying to do our best to track in real time. So as we explore the current data, while COVID is certainly making things more difficult this year with significant attendance impacts, our high school campuses are not allowing it to hamper our efforts to ensure as many students as possible graduate college, career, and military ready. You'll see 3 columns on this chart. The first data column represents the data that TEA currently has for our 2022 seniors. This is, once again, from the 2020 school year. The second represents the percent of seniors that are college, career, and military ready based on the official data sets that we have received and processed in our system. And then the last column represents the most accurate real-time data sets that are used by the campuses where they're individually tracking students on spreadsheets to know exactly where they lie. So looking kind of at the first column and then the last column, you can see that Brazosport High School is currently reported at 49.5%. This is an increase of over 26% from the TEA data. And then Brazosport is at 59.1, which is an increase of over 30%. and Brazos Success Academy has increased by nearly 25%. So, as a district, we're approximately 60 students away from our goal of 62% of seniors graduating college, career, and military ready, which is very attainable prior to the end of the year. So keep in mind, once again, that 60% is an A for state accountability. So as we continue this school year, we conduct quarterly reviews with each campus to track progress and help monitor to see if there's any additional resources that campuses may need or any support they may need from the district to help get our students across the finish line. Campuses are tracking students individually, meeting with students individually to identify the best avenue for students to obtain college, career, and military ready status. We are seeing great gains to increased access to dual credit through free tuition and one-stop registrations to help with a complex registration process for dual credit. Campus students are provided with TSI testing on site. Additionally, the Texas College Bridge course that the school board approved last year has allowed many of our students to become college ready through an interactive and individualized learning system. So thank you very much for that. Our campuses and CTE department are working to identify students that may have previously missed industry-based certifications, and along with opportunities to get certifications in their current coursework. Just a reminder again that in addition, our current seniors are also in courses currently that will get those industry certifications before the end of the year. They're taking dual credit coursework that we get and process back based on who has passed, and we'll get that next set of data in June. And then we also receive AP results in July for our seniors, are many of the additional ways we anticipate those remaining 60 students for achieving college, career, and military readiness prior to graduation. So at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. No action is needed, as this information is report only.
Any questions from the board? From the audience? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Still surprised by how few are taking advantage of the dual credit option, but...
Yes, we've seen some increase at Brazosport High School. We have some, we're trying to explore the data a little bit deeper at Brazoswood, where we are theorizing that some students may, because students are starting dual credit earlier, they're starting their freshman year, some of them may have run out of options that they want to take by the time they're reaching their senior year. So we may have had a kind of a double up and then an even off at Brazosport. So we're exploring, are there additional opportunities we can open up? When we compare our district to other districts and dual credit opportunities, we offer far more options for students than most other school districts. But we're still exploring how we can get more kids in, because it's a great deal being able to graduate with nearly, I think, 48 college credit hours for free. Like, that's impressive.
Yeah. What have we got to do to get those kids invested in that? Whether it's the counselors or, I don't know, the teachers or who, but they have got to take advantage of that. That's the best thing that has happened since I've been on the board. I mean, that is incredible.
Richard, what is the name of the course that Kathy teaches?
CARP.
College Admissions Readiness and Preparation.
She's done a great job with that. Those guys over there are knocking them dead. I've been on 2 or 3 scholarship committees, and you read from 3 or 4 years ago, I kind of felt sorry for their applicants there. But since this CARP program has started, their essays, the whole 10 yards are up here. And I think that's a plus. And there are a lot of them, it goes back to this, I know Troy Day and a couple of others over there pushing the kids into dual credit as well. The teachers are.
All right, if there are no questions. Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Thank you.
Next item that we have on the agenda is the 2022 budget update and 2023 budget development calendar and planning process.
Did we just do it?
We keep it great.
Good evening. It's kind of strange for me to just now be up here. Usually I have multiple action items and a couple of reports, but it is my pleasure to be here tonight to provide a report on the budget development process and the calendar that the districts will utilize to ensure that we meet the deadline for adopting the 2022-2023 budget. I'll share a brief update on the current year budget and the projected surplus. The general fund budget is one of the most important legal documents that the school board is required to approve annually. Board Policy CE in the Texas Education Code, Sections 44.002 through 006 of the Texas Education Code outline the legal requirements for adopting the budget. The budget must be prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and in compliance with all state and local requirements. Our fiscal year is September 1st through August 31st. The budget must be adopted before the adoption of the tax rate. We do this at the same meeting, adopting the tax rate first and then the budget. The budget must be adopted by August 31st. The budget adoption will include the general fund, the food service fund, and the debt service fund. The budget is filed annually to TEA through the fall PEEM submission report, and then no funds may be expended other than as provided for by the functional categories within the budget. The board may amend the budget as necessary. Budget planning. David, can you click back for me? Thank you. Budget planning is a comprehensive process and as such requires the work of the school board, the superintendent, district and campus administrators, as well as the campus-based site committees. Our budget development process includes key components of a zero-based program budget process. We start with our guiding principles survey, which helps set priority levels for the allocation of funds. You will receive an email later this week with the survey for this year. The campus conducts their needs assessment and develops improvement strategies. They identify the costs associated with each of the improvement strategies, as well as solicit budgetary requests from grade level and/or department chairs. Principals evaluate all requests to determine criticality of need and the relationship to achievement of curriculum effectiveness. A copy of the 2023 budget development calendar has been placed at your table. We will utilize this calendar to ensure that we meet the deadline for adopting the budget. I have highlighted in gray the areas that pertain to you as a board. The budget development calendar now incorporates campus needs assessment and improvement planning. These two processes have always happened simultaneously and now are combined into one planning calendar. Today is February 21st, and we are reviewing the budget process, and the guiding principles survey will be distributed later this week. At the March board meeting, I'll provide a report of the results of the survey, and Ms. Kirshner will provide the results of our annual TASB compensation study. The compensation plan will be presented in April for the board's approval. In May, we'll present the budget development update. I do expect to receive preliminary values from the appraisal district by May 20th. In June, we will present another budget update, including revenues and expenditure changes. We'll also conduct the public hearing to gather stakeholder feedback on the federal application for ESSA, also known as our title program. The preliminary budget will be prepared by the regular August board meeting, at which time we will conduct a board workshop. And then the budget and the tax rate will be adopted at a special August board meeting on August 29th. Then in October, the board will approve the final district and campus improvement plan. Before we move into revenue projections for the next few years, I'd like to take a minute to provide an update on the current year. Average daily attendance for the current year is at 10,069, which is down 455 from last year, which is what I used to budget revenue for the current year. This does result in approximately $2.8 million of a reduction to budgeted revenue. There are some increases in the ECOD and other weighted student groups, so that generates some additional funding to offset the reduction in ADA funding. I did receive a phone call from Mr. Lopez, the Associate Commissioner of Finance for TEA last week. He indicated that the state is evaluating the extension of the hold harmless as we continue to see reductions in attendance rates due to the COVID pandemic. Mr. Redden and his department pulled some data for me to send back to TEA, along with our request for the extension of the hold harmless through this current school year. So we shall see over the next couple of months if TEA grants that extension. Outside of state funding formulas, the ISD receives the 313 supplemental and revenue protection payments This year, the estimate from Moat Casey back in July was $12.6 million. The actual calculations in November totaled just over $25 million. House Bill 1525 from last year's legislative session, which was the cleanup bill to House Bill 3 in the previous session, impacted the calculation and the projections, as there was no formula transition grant that was provided under House Bill 3. And then also, as our tax rate has been reduced and further compressed, we have a smaller amount of recapture savings that offset the amount that the companies protect us under these agreements. So House Bill 1525, along with the use of the prior year values in the calculation of the revenue protection payment, the actual amounts are higher than the anticipated amount by just over $12 million. This means based on revenue projections and total expenditures budgeted, we should end this year with a surplus of $8.5 million. Yeah, pretty big swing. Those revenue protection payments are calculated annually, and as you know, they swing, pretty large amounts. They are outside of the state, funding formulas, and so we have to be careful when we utilize those dollars, as they are one-time dollars for next year. So kind of moving into next year, I haven't made any adjustments. The current budget was $12.6 million in hold harmless and supplemental payments for those agreements. I don't have those calculations yet from Moat Casey, so I've just kind of held that value constant for now. What I have included is a total less available revenue based on current ADA and current weighted FTE student groups to generate a little bit less revenue. So based on current spending of about $120 million, we start this budget development season in the hole of $4.4 million. So that could get better or worse depending on those 313 amounts. And then that is before any compensation increases that we will be bringing forward. We are in a strong financial position. We have over $54 million in undesignated fund balance based on our $120 million operating budget. 3.5 months optimum fund balance would be $35 million. So we're in a good position moving forward, but definitely something we need to continue to monitor our spending levels compared to funding revenue available under the state funding formulas. So here we have a table chart shows student enrollment, which is the orange line from 2011 through 2021. Enrollment is down over 1,000 students. In the current year, you don't see it here on the chart, we are slightly up 54 students. The blue line is the teacher positions or FTEs, which are full-time equivalent positions. Since 2013, we have added 115 teacher positions. This time last year, prior to receiving the ESSER funding, we made some reductions based on staffing ratios. Campuses have been able to utilize their ESSER funds to hire additional teachers and interventionists, among other teacher and student supports. And based on fall snapshot data, we have 20 less teacher FTEs in 2022 compared to 2021. So enrollment's up about 54 students, and then we're only down 20 teacher FTEs in total, all funding sources included. Ms. Kirshner and I, along with the campus-level cabinet supervisors, will begin meeting with each campus to evaluate staffing needs based on enrollment and current staffing ratios for the 2023 school year. The 2023 budget assumption document will be used to track changes to the budgeted revenues and expenditures compared to the adopted 2022 budget. Revenue changes are reflected here based on the projected funding formulas based on current year average daily attendance and weighted student FTEs. We are anticipating a slight decrease to the M&O values and are planning to decrease the M&O tax rate based on the state compression formulas. This results in about $4.7 million reduction to local property tax collections and an increase of $2.2 million in state revenue. I don't have the 313 revenue estimates at this time. Ms. Kirshner and I, as stated, will begin meeting with cabinet-level supervisors and campuses to evaluate staffing needs, along with department directors to evaluate staffing needs based on their program needs. We will provide the board updates as we move along the next few months. We do have over $54 million in that balance. So we will continue to make fiscally responsible decisions to ensure that we are maintain a financial strength, and provide the resources to equip and maintain quality facilities and educational programs. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Will the board get a wage increase as well?
When you add 0 to 0, you'll get 0.
I just thought I'd check on that just to make sure.
It's gonna double our salary.
I thought I might catch her in a weak moment.
It's on here. Total current expenditure changes 0. Yep, that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was the extra 0 in the other number.
Greg, I have a question that it's not directly to you, but it does deal with this. But, I mean, I assume that all of our other districts are doing the same thing that we're doing, hiring extra people, trying to catch up with the COVID slide. I mean, everybody is gonna be somewhat heavy, I'm assuming. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct, which further adds to the teacher shortage issue, and, you know, which is why Ms. Kirshner has presented the recruiting strategies that she has. And then we've continued to allocate some of the money for retention efforts to ensure we retain our staff. But yes, I mean, when we got $30 million in ESSER funds, and you can only buy so much stuff.
Yeah.
And 86% of our operating budget is people, so when we're adding $30 million of additional funds, 86% of it is likely to be in people as well.
Okay.
I appreciate in your presentation, there's 3 letters that I totally hate together, and I didn't hear them, and I hope that we stay there. I don't do RIF very well.
Oh.
I'm hard to get along with if we start talking about that, so.
Yes, sir, that's not a fun process.
Did I miss the 5-year budget projection?
It is in there.
Yeah, I know, but it's not 5 years.
I'm missing the 5th year, or the 4th year of the projection.
Well, 2022, I don't see 3. I mean, we'll get.
Well, current year plus 3 more, so I've got 4 total in there. So I've got the prior year of 2021 instead of, once you get that 5th year out, and I can update it, I mean, we don't really know beyond this current. Yeah. So, I mean, you can see even as 23, 24, 24, 25, I mean, those numbers stay pretty flat. So, but I can update it to add that column.
We gotta keep looking at it.
I got it.
Yeah.
So we gotta be aware.
It's gonna be a really positive, legislative session, the best I can tell.
Oh, yeah. After the May 7th Constitution.
We can up our projections.
May 7th.
I think I feel safe.
May 7th constitutional.
Oh, yeah.
After voting, I
Then
think
it'll
we're
take
safe.
I still would like to see, going back 3 or 4 years, and then maybe the projections of our fund balance, how it's been up and down. You know, we can do expenditures and revenues, and then fund balance, and then as we go to when we get to the budget time, we can see where that goes. That kind of would be interesting. I've tried to do it, and it hasn't been successful, so have somebody that got better numbers than I do, so.
So you want a historical fund balance trend and revenue and expenditures?
Yeah, just go for 6, 7 years, something like that. 5 is the magic number, but,
I can get you that.
and then we can go back to Mason's deficit.
Oh, yeah. It was tough times back then, man.
We don't see
I
that.
guess next month we'll start seeing potential expenditures and all that.
Starting in April.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Kelly?
We shouldn't have any problem with the August 29th is awfully close to August 31st, but I guess.
The challenge is when they change the funding formulas to use the current year taxable values, we don't get those certified amounts until really late. And so.
Maybe later this year.
Yeah. So it's challenging to do it like in July and early August like we have historically. So we could adopt a budget, you know, without those values, but.
No, as long as we can get it done by the 29th.
If we have a hurricane that week, we may be doing it virtually.
I don't think we'll have a freeze or something.
That'll be presented in April as budget discussion.
All right, if there are no other questions, from the board or from the audience, Ms. Kelly?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item we have is student literacy and math performance of the middle of the year screener assessments.
call once again. In accordance with Local and BISD Goal Number 1, in which Brazosport ISD will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience that every student will be future ready, it is my pleasure to present BISD's middle year student literacy and math performance data for kindergarten through second grade students. Every year, our kindergarten through second graders are tested 3 times annually to review their progress on norm reference screeners. We recently conducted our mid-year screeners, and we look at a student's growth percentile, or SGP, from the beginning of the school year to the middle of the year. This year, we moved away from iStation assessments and chose Star Renaissance screeners as they are correlated closer to the Texas Star. In addition, Star Renaissance allows us to assess students in math starting in first grade. The reporting of this data will look different than previous years, since scores are related again to student growth percentiles, which estimates a student's proficiency on mastering state standards. To understand student growth percentiles, the following slide displays how students are assessed using Star Renaissance screeners. Scores fall in a range of 1 through 99. If a student scores in the range of 0 to 34, shown here in red, the student will have low growth. If a student scores in the 35 to 65 percentile range, their growth will be considered typical. Students scored above 65, shown here in green, will indicate high growth. A score of 50 is considered solid growth. As the year progresses, the assessments get harder. Thus, the higher a score a student earns, the higher their growth will be. So, this first graph shows our students' growth percentile, or again, SGP, in literacy across the district based on grade level since the beginning of the school year. As you can see in this illustration, all 3 grade levels are showing positive literacy growth, with kindergarten growing 19% overall since the beginning of the year, with a mid-year score of 56%. First grade has grown 15%, up from 37% from the beginning of the school year, and second grade grew 12% to a mid-year score of 46%. All of these scores fall in the typical student growth percentile range. This table illustrates a closer look by campus. The dark blue line indicates the beginning of the year scores, and the light blue line on top shows the middle of the year scores. 5 of our campuses, Boydell, Brannon, Roberts, Polk, and Griffith, scored above the 50th percentile, which again is considered solid growth, while the other 3 campuses had less growth, but still in the typical range for standard growth percentiles. Overall, Brannon had the lowest growth of 13% from their score of 52% at the beginning of the year, and now 65% for the middle of the year. However, this is extremely good and only 1 percentile point below a score considered to be in the high range. Boydell rose 28% from the beginning of the year and had the highest overall growth in literacy for kindergarten. Their score of 66 is in the high range, and that's keeping in mind that a score above 65 is considered high growth. All of our schools grew respectively with double-digit increases. This table depicts the literacy growth scores for our first graders. Again, the bottom line indicates the beginning of the year scores, and the top line in light blue shows our middle of the year scores. As you can see, all schools have shown growth, which falls in the typical growth range for this assessment. Brannon students are performing at the highest level compared to our other elementary campuses. However, Roberts Elementary, growing from 34% to 61%, had a 27% jump in growth, and Griffith Elementary, growing from 18% to 47%, had a 29% increase. Both of these schools have shown considerable growth. Freeport Elementary and Boydell Elementary had a smaller percentage of growth at 3%, but they still fall in the typical range. This next graph illustrates the student growth percentile for our second graders. 4 of our campuses, Brannon, Boydell, Roberts, and Polk, are at or above the 50th percentile, which would indicate solid growth. Griffith Elementary still falls in the typical range with a growth score of 41%, 16% above their beginning of the year score. 3 of our campuses whose students tested in the range of low growth on the beginning of the year screeners have shown growth but are slightly lower than we anticipated. They are in below the typical range on their mid-year screeners. This next slide shows our district's literacy performance for our bilingual Spanish students. A score in the 65 to 99th range demonstrates high growth, and all of our district campuses in kindergarten through second grade are tested at high levels of student achievement and significant growth. Scores in the 70s are extremely good. This next table moves us away from our literacy scores and illustrates our student growth percentiles across the district for first and second grade math. Star Renaissance does not have a screener for kindergarten students in math. The dark blue line indicates the beginning of the year scores, and the light blue line the middle of the year scores. First grade has shown a growth rate of 18%, up from 55%, to close out at 73%. And second grade has grown 22%, up from 44% to 66% since the beginning of the year assessments. Both of these scores fall in the high range for student growth percentile. And this slide delineates the breakdown of our campuses for math performance in first grade. T.W. Ogg Elementary had the smallest amount of growth, up 11% from 59 to 70%. However, their score still falls in the high range. Stephen F. Austin had the highest amount of growth, up 29 percentage points from 44 to 73%. All of our campuses are performing in the high range, and that's above 65% on our mid-year screeners for first grade math. This final graph explains our second grade student growth percentile scores. 4 of our campuses are showing scores in the high growth range. That would be Polk, Roberts, Boyle, and Brandon Elementary. While our other 4 campuses, Freeport Elementary, T.W. Ogg, Stephen F. Austin, Matt Griffith, have high scores in the typical range. Stephen F. Austin had the highest growth at 37%, resulting in a mid-year score of 63%, while Brandon, although performing at the highest level of 74%, has a smaller growth at 16%, although very respectable. All campuses in second grade display considerable growth in math. Our campus teachers and administrators are working diligently to meet our House Bill 3 goals in literacy and numeracy for third grade. Our assessment data from Star Renaissance allows us to measure students' progress and work with our kindergarten to second grade teachers to ensure students are on grade level by the end of the school year. We will continue to monitor each campus's progress to improve our instructional strategies. This presentation is report only and no action is required. Hopefully this information has provided you with some insight into our progress with our youngest learners. I will now answer any questions you may have.
Questions? I see positives. That's a plus. I see positives here.
Yeah, reality is it's a difficult year because of COVID. The last couple of years have been difficult. If you look at the second grade scores for ELA, you see a little bit of a dip down, but those are students who haven't been in school. It's, that had interruptions in their learning. But really, very excited about math. Math has really grown a lot, and ELA is becoming very promising. So I feel pretty good about the scores, considering everything that's been going on. And our teachers are working extremely hard to make this happen.
Jerry?
For the Spanish bilingual or emergent bilingual or whatever the term is now, what are we calling our?
They're the bilinguals.
Yeah.
They have ELs.
Okay. Are we moving to emergent bilingual or something anyway? Looking at that, the 70%, 79, and is that an indication of moving out of the bilingual program, or is that just?
Yes, it would be.
Okay, so that's.
Our goal is to
can't equate.
exit them as soon as we possibly can.
Okay. So with these higher scores, that means they're progressing.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They do have to take the TEL pass.
Yeah.
So it depends on how they score on that.
So looking at the other, both the ELA and the math for all the grades, how can we equate this to our student outcome goals or our House Bill 3 goals, whatever that term is? Is there a way to see how close we are to the goals? Because I pushed to get the same goals, and we've got a little dip here on some of them. How can we equate that to these goals that we set?
For our House Bill 3 goals for third grade numeracy and literacy, if everything holds what we're hoping it would hold with Star Ren, is that these tests would correlate very closely to State Star. So then we would turn around, because they have in this program and approaches meets and masters to see if they line up. We will know that by the end of the year when we look at our STAR scores, that if it does line up, then we know where we would fall with our kindergarten first and second, although they don't have a test in math for kinder. That allows us to take a look back and say, okay, if the test holds true, then what areas do we need to focus on? This program also allows us to look into the teaks that the kids have not accomplished or not mastering, so then we can work with our teachers to identify those teaks, which we're currently doing, and hopefully get more growth. So we're hoping everything lines up because it gives us a good indicator how our students are performing at the end of kindergarten, first and second, which we really haven't had a great indicator prior to this. That was a mouthful.
So we'll get the end year scores, we'll just add to the scrap.
Right, we'll actually look at the end of the year scores in third grade and fourth grade for the elementary, see where it lines up at how the third and fourth graders did throughout the school year, and if everything lines up really well, we'll assume that that would be the same situation for kindergarten, first and second, so then we can take a look at what to attack.
We still have one more screener though, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In a year.
And then, a lot of our campuses are screening monthly or every 5 or 6 weeks because they want to stay ahead of this. So the goal is to hang on to what you have or to at least grow, but it gets difficult toward the end of the year because the test gets harder.
I'm going to guess that there's some different type programs for the schools who are in the 30s and the 40s. Are they doing something different, or are they added tutoring, or
They do have increased tutoring. The ESSER funds have helped out with that. I will say, again, it's a bit of a challenge because we've had a lot of teachers out with COVID, so then we cover classes, but they're doing the best that they can, and a lot of money is being attributed, given tutorials during the school day and after the school day at our elementary campuses.
So are we, I lost my train of thought. Oh, are we, for the tutoring, are we reaching our state mandated extra time in groups of less than 4 or 2 or whatever the difficulties are? I mean, I know we're trying to get, I assume we're getting close, but there is effort to meet those, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda is the bond planning and construction update by Mr. Alex Jordan.
My watch just told me it was time to stand up. Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy CB Local, it is my pleasure to present the planning and construction update for the 2014 and 2019 bond programs. As of February 16th for 2014, we've completed 83.96%. For 2019, we've completed 63.49%. Completed or in progress. This slide shows the current bond project timelines.
This is all projects that will eventually complete, right? This is everything on there now. Do we have anything that's not on there now?
We don't have, it's got the big projects. It doesn't have some of the upcoming summer projects that we still have left to do, such as Rasco, Polk, and Griffith.
There's one AC though, AC.
That's in the works.
That's right, right.
This is a current view of the Brazosport campus. This is of the front entry of the main campus. This is over looking at the front from Brazosport Drive on the far west end. This is looking at the, standing on the art patio, looking over towards the outdoor dining area. And this is looking at the main entry of the auditorium. This is inside the indoor dining area with the serving lines over to the left. This is the learning stairs. We don't think in the last meeting that we had the stairs stained. And then the main stairway where people will walk, that's terrazzo over on the left. It's covered with plastic. And then this is looking from the second floor looking down. And this is in the serving area. indefinitely delayed, but we do anticipate it coming before summer, such as the large freezers and coolers and things like that. This is the Black Box Theater, and this is the band hall. And this is the lobby of the auditorium, and you're about to see some seats in the auditorium. You can see the seats in the back. They're beginning to put them in place in the front. And then this is looking from the stage. And I thought I had a slide where you could actually see the color of the seats.
They're not white, I hope.
No, they're blue.
Yes.
They're blue. They look amazing. Yeah, they're covered with plastic. So
They're gold. As long as they're not gold.
Yeah, they look really good.
I bet the curtain smells better too.
Once it gets there, it will, absolutely. This is looking in the main student corridor, looking down towards the outdoor dining area, indoor dining area.
You promise it's wider?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm gonna measure it next time.
Yeah,
I'm
please
looking at the
do.
drawing so I can prove it to you. This is the aquatics lab. And this is the library. We're making great progress on the flooring throughout the entire campus. This is in the administrative area, and this is an example of the flooring, the vinyl flooring that goes in the corridors and such throughout the district. It's a wood grain look, vinyl, and then there's accents throughout. Over at Brazosport Tennis, I'm happy to announce for all of Phase 3 projects, we received our temporary certificate of occupancy on all of tennis, softball, baseball, and the new technology center. This is the coach's office at tennis, and this is one of the locker rooms. And then this is the new covered bleachers in between the courts. Over at Brazosport baseball, of course, this is looking from the field side. This is in between the new corridor that goes through between the new addition and the old original building. And we're trying to get graphics in. They're having the graphics company's having trouble getting them to stick. We don't know if it's the paint curing issue or exactly what it is, but we're anxious to get the graphics in because it's going to make a huge difference on all of these buildings. We're still waiting on pieces of the trophy cases, similar to the same issue we had over at the CTE building. We waited forever to get certain pieces just so they can get them installed. And this is in the locker room, and the restrooms. Just since these pictures were taken on Friday, all of these areas have been cleaned up, the floor protection's taken up, and the facility's completely usable. This is the storeroom. They've already moved into that as well. They've got it very organized. It looks great. And of course, this is looking up towards the press box. And inside the press box, looking out towards the fields. This is over at softball, of course, and the graphics have been completed on the back of the press box. I'm surprised no one has mentioned this to me yet, that Brazosport is two words in this, and it has been ever since they installed it. It's incorrect. We noticed it the day they installed it, and so it's being, we should get it back any day. The company that did it was very embarrassed because it was never two words. This is inside the new concession stand. And this is in the restrooms. And this is looking out in the outfield towards the bleachers. Over at the new Technology and Resource Center.
Are they playing? They're Are they playing games? Have they played a game?
Yeah. They're playing games there and at baseball. This is the security vestibule at the new Technology and Resource Center. This is the new receptionist and command center. And this is the warehouse. I'm sorry, this is the technology warehouse. And this is the technology workshop. This is where all the technicians will be, and they will have modular furniture in there, where they do their thing that's all over my head. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
So, I thought I saw some drawings for the Brazosport multi-sport setup, so we're getting closer to starting to do.
Yes, sir.
Drawings.
We're making progress on that,
That
definitely.
actually should go out to bid, the field house should go out to bid next month in March.
Yes.
I know that the, just part that you can see from the road, the ladybugs is nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes, it is.
And there's some additional graphics going on the back of the bleachers. Yeah, so we'll provide, actually, I already have in your board update for Friday, a link to the newsletter from CBOS that went out with some of the pictures, for, the field house. So we can start including those in these meetings. They're just kinda hesitant until we actually have a contract and a bid, an amount, a GMP amount. I'm concerned with construction costs.
I know this is way out there, but is there any timeline for a walkthrough at Brazosport?
Why are you looking at me?
He gave me a stern no the other day.
Well, it is still an active construction site. Technically, the building is not ours. Under our GMP, our contract with the construction manager, the liability falls within them. So if you really want in, we can certainly coordinate and walk through. We can do whatever you want, Mr. Reinhardt.
I'm just curious.
We can take you through it any time. We walk through Boydell whenever steel is up. And so it's, personally, I like everybody to see it when it's finished because you get the whole wow factor of it, and you're not, you're just seeing when it's got construction debris and plastic and boxes and all of that stuff around, but I'll be more than happy to take you through.
You answered my question, I'll wait.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't weld all the beams.
As long as the dairy bar doesn't close.
Apparently.
I think we'll have it done before you.
According to the community members.
We're still planning for a concrete road on the back of Bewood, right? Have we met with the city anymore on light?
Yeah, you know about that?
No, we have not had any additional conversations with them.
I think we're gonna need help with that.
I think Gerald wants us to
You're
go
gonna need
first.
more help, I'm afraid. But.
Yeah, we need to start that process.
We need to, the flute part too. I mean, it's not much that they're involved in, but I don't think they'll be as hard to get along with.
No, but they'll.
Flute's not gonna be an issue at all because obviously the city limits falls right at the ditch.
Yeah.
So Clute has been amazing through this project. They really have. And the city manager's worked great with us and his staff and all of that. The problem or the difficulty is going to be with the city of Lake Jackson out on Dixie Drive. In my conversations with them in the past, they're expecting the road to be widened back to Azles because there has to be a turning lane that will hold a certain amount of cars, because right now if you were to move the drive where the two houses are, you could only get about 2 or 3 cars in the turning lane. And so to widen Dixie Drive, it's very tight. We're gonna have to cover the ditches, and the cost would be extreme, in my opinion. And just some of the comments that, let's see how do I say this, just some of the comments that were said to me is, we'll work with you, but we're not paying for it.
Yeah, I've heard that. Because.
That was pretty adamant.
Down Dixie Drive where there's little two-car turn lanes are?
If it's a light, if it's a light, there shouldn't be as big a need for turning lanes though, right? Stacking?
They would definitely require a left turn
Well,
lane, just
I
like
think-
we have at Brazosport Drive.
I think because of the traffic coming from morning and afternoon, you can't be stop traffic on the inside lane, that's their biggest
that's the whole point of the light, right, is to stop it. I mean, they don't have turning, they have turning lanes at HEB there, No. We need to start that because Lake Jackson, you have to go to traffic, then you have to go to council, each one of those is 2 meetings, so that's 2.5 months. One of those traffic only meets once a month, so that's a 5-month process, just start that, if there's no issues.
I'm just a suggestion. Someone should make an appointment with Mr. Mundo and go talk to him. Start there and Danny, it might be you, you can go talk to him. And,
It will require an extreme amount, I shouldn't use the word extreme, it will require significant engineering, dealing with, and who engineers that? I mean, we're dealing with the city road and the city, right-of-ways and all of that. Is it for them to engineer and them to construct and us to pay for? I don't, that's not my deal. It's just, it's a significant project.
So if we don't put a light up, I guess we can solve some of that turning, right?
I've mentioned that, actually. There are several options I mentioned, especially when I saw some of the preliminary costs, is that if we kept the entrances where they are now, we can do anything we want to do. Of course, we wouldn't be straightening it, which is the ideal thing. To straighten it, that's when the city's going to go, okay, time out, we don't like your traffic plan anymore.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, my thought was, don't do a light. We don't have one there now.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's a 15-minute issue.
Yeah.
And I've got cost estimates for that, and be okay with the work we're gonna conduct the traffic study, for that area as well, because we're gonna need that, that's the first thing the city's gonna ask for. So, we should have that readily available at this point.
Cheaper to hire 2 cops twice a day than.
if you have to think about it, is the way the back road is situated now, you're looking at the potential for 2 lights within 50 yards of each other.
Yeah.
And that's probably a no-no there.
I just think that we're gonna need that land eventually where all that softball parking is and all that, especially if we expand other sports activities and things like that. So I just think we're gonna need it. I would rather have a straight lane out. It avoids confusion. One in, one out.
We could certainly make it wide enough where you don't have just one little lane getting out trying to go this way and another little lane going out getting that way. We can certainly improve it in a different location and make it, it may be where the 2 houses are, wide a little bit in a straight manner versus the curves and all of that it has now, and obviously give us a lot of land back.
I think we're gonna need that lane. I'd like to see
I would love to
straight.
be able to do it without a light, but I think once we move it down to where the 2 houses are, we're still going to have to do something about turning lane off of Dixie Drive. I think the city's just not
Coming from
the north, yeah.
And, there's another aspect to that. At the end of the day, when you turn right to go north on Dixie, you almost need an acceleration lane there too to get over, because you're gonna have people flying from the light this way.
Yeah.
It's,
I don't feel like it's gonna get any cheaper.
No, sir.
Wait.
concrete's not going down.
And, I mean, my understanding is that we really start talking this for the safety more than anything else, and so.
But that's the way I would start it. Danny, if you can contact with us, too.
Yeah, we need to have it, that's a 6-month process at least.
Minimum, yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Do we have any board committee reports this evening?
I would like to, Rocketry invited us to, their kickoff introduction of what they were gonna do, and kids way over my head. I guarantee if they know what they're doing, and what I kind of found humorous to a degree was they had, kids from last year on Zoom calling them, asking questions and putting them in, we don't know this yet, so, it's really a great program that they have there, and, I look forward to that. Jesse, your guys did a great job on CTE ribbon cutting. That was an outstanding day. I noticed today, thanks to VLK for recognition of School Board Month, they donated money to the Education Foundation. It's for the school board. Tomorrow night, the ex-board of basketball plays, Rockport Fulton at, Tidehaven. Tidehaven Tiger Stadium. I guess they're playing inside though, so they'll be in the gym. But, anyway, that's, I think it's 6:30 or 7. I don't remember what time it is. So, lots going on.
Yeah, tomorrow I highlight, what is it called, the Spotlight Series. Andy, when she's gonna present,
Yes.
Do what?
online testing assessment.
Yeah,
So,
he's an expert.
3 o'clock, or I think it's 3 o'clock.
I believe 3 o'clock.
I got signed up anyway, so
Thank you.
I'll be listening in.
What did you say?
I don't know.
It was on the board update.
It just comes in, I sign up, I don't know.
Oh, that's on the board that day.
I get so many emails on web series that I forget where they come from.
Well, wrestling, Brazosport Wrestling has had a few kids make state, had a great turnout at region, so that program's been from zero, literally, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, to, 3 guys moved to state. It's unbelievable. Great program he's got. A lot of kids do it.
All right. If none,
I just,
Yes, sir.
have to kind of piggyback on Mr. Reinhardt's,
You're too heavy.
about this month in particular, a couple of the things with the throwback prom and with the CTE, ribbon cutting. I can't imagine we've ever had a time when our business partners have been any more confident and engaged and excited to join in what's going on, and it's pretty impressive. I'm proud to be a part of it, and you guys are doing a remarkable job, and I appreciate all the hard work, and, yeah.
The whole thing about, ribbon cutting, one of the outstanding, the culinary kids, they busted their hump. I mean, it was gourmet. And, I heard this one lady, she goes, "What is this?" And I said, "Oh, Lord." And she asked this little girl, just giving her a cup of coffee. She said, "Well, it's white chocolate, loca mati, whatever you call it, you know." And she said, "This is the best I've ever had." That's what she told the young lady. But all 3 culinary teachers were there, and they did a gentleman job. And, it's sad that my room's not down the hall from homemaking anymore.
Brittany's gonna have to build a second deck at the Dow Academic Center to get any more people in there too.
They're maxed out.
Yeah.
February 11th, 2023, mark your
I just got a suggestion.
Oh.
I think everybody there was comfortable. Wear jeans every year and rock. I'm serious. It was a good time. Everybody had a blast.
I think that's why that one's so well attended, is because people have 90% of the things they can wear.
And since the ticket demand is so high, maybe a Friday, Saturday, or?
The grand total will be announced tomorrow night, so y'all know.
Good.
It's a big, big, big number.
I'm just so impressed that there are so many good things happening all over. It's not just one, it's not just in athletics, it's not just culinary, it's all the way across the district. I appreciate our people.
It's a positive culture.
I think so. I hope they can. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what we're accomplishing. So. All right, moving on. Next, regular scheduled
Yeah, there you go.
board meeting.
That's it.
Will be, the 21st of March, here. Next item we have on our agenda is executive session. It may be called for the purposes permitted by the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Section 551.071 through 551.146, Section 551.071, compensation of attorney, Section 551.071, any agenda items, Section 551.072. It's gotten longer.
More to talk about.
.072 for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Sections 551.074, personnel matters, appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, dismissal, complaint. Section 551.074, superintendent mid-year review. Section 551.074, superintendent mid-year appraisal measures. section 551.082 for the purpose of considering discipline of a public school child or complaint or charge against personnel. We'll return.
We just got back from eating.
10 o'clock.
I thought I saw you
Yeah,
over
we were in the dairy bar.
Return from executive session. We will now reconvene. The time is 10:15A, program change. 10:05, who's presenting?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees declare a program change and implement DFFB local for the instructional professional learning department, specific to the instructional coaching role at the end of 2021-22 contract year.
Move for approval. Second.
Moved by Mr. Swartner, seconded by Mr. Reinhardt. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. That carries. Superintendent's contract extension.
I propose we extend the superintendent's contract by another year.
Second.
All,
Can we go 4 years?
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right. Stick with us for
Thank
another
you
year.
very much.
Rebecca's gone, we couldn't go any longer.
Thank
other than
you.
without approval.
Thank you
CFO.
very much.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned?
Unless there's any objection?